Christian Bladt in 3, 2, 1.
Following the revelation that Fox News host Bill O'Reilly paid out millions and millions of dollars in payments to women alleging sexual harassment, numerous sponsors are reportedly leaving Fox News' O'Reilly factor. And when they all leave the show, they'll do it live! They'll do it live! The Trump Report starts now.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Oh, yes. Hoo-ha. I got you all in check. Welcome to the Trump Report. I'm Christian Bladt, on Twitter at ChristianDMZ, and our show is on Twitter at Trump Report ABTV. I knew that, but I looked anyway because I was so afraid of giving out the wrong Twitter. But seriously, people, I say this every week. Just follow us on Twitter. Do it right now. You can click over another window, whether on your phone, you're on your laptop, you're on a desktop computer if you have. Go ahead, follow us on Twitter. It's not going to hurt. We promise we'll try and make it fun for you. But what's always fun is to do this show, the Trump Report, or as I call it, the Bad Girls Club after show with our resident bad girl, Chelsea Galicia, who has been arrested.
Almost a year to the day.
Wow.
Ooh,
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm going back to D.C. to celebrate.
I would have gotten you a cake behind bars if only I'd known. And, there would have been a file baked into it so you could saw your way out of
thank you.
the clink. On Twitter, at Chelsea Galicia, not Twelsey Galicia. And down at the other end of the desk, Scott Moore, at SMan80. Hey, gang.
Hi.
How's it all going?
Oh, nuclear.
Yeah, which we're going to talk nuclear. I was actually looking for a good song with the word nuclear in it, in the title, and I couldn't find it. So I settled on Block the, whatever that song's called, the one that we just had.
I was very impressed by the diversity of your musical selection.
Look, just because I look like Wonder Bread does not mean that I'm not from the mean streets.
Of where?
Of Burbank.
Greenwood Lake, New York. That sounds tough,
Greenwood
doesn't it?
Lake, yes.
Greenwood Lake is
Anything with lake in it.
Yeah,
it's definitely tough.
It was a 9-mile lake. Whew, you should have seen that lake. But anyway, so here we are, rocking the block and all other sorts of things, because there's right away we get to our Gorsuch and such segment. And if we were going to do it in filibuster style, we would just talk about Gorsuch for the entire episode.
Right.
And they'd turn the cameras off and we'd sit here and keep going. And then the next show that wants to come, nope. They wouldn't be able to.
The next 30 hours we would just be talking.
Here's where we're at. The Senate Judiciary Committee confirmed Neil Gorsuch. So that goes to the full Senate for a vote. Well, that sounds easy, doesn't it, Scott?
It sounds easy.
Yeah, so we'll wrap this up by lunchtime tomorrow, won't we?
Pretty much. That's if it was up to Mitch McConnell, that's what's going to happen.
Okay. So wait, is that not what's happening?
Well, I mean, this is kind of going back and forth with the so-called nuclear option, and as we know, Democrats are sort of to blame for starting this, but now Republicans are wanting to take it all the way to the end and to the edge. So what happened back in 2013 is Democrats were feeling as if they were not able to get any of their nominees passed because Republicans were holding it up. And so instead of doing the normal, what had been considered with the Senate, 60 votes was the threshold, that was a supermajority to be able to pass getting people confirmed, Harry Reid changed it to just getting a simple majority of 51. And so now, and that was everything but Supreme Court justices. That was for any other federal appointees, was just a simple vote, which has now, of course, been used lately for all the cabinet positions that we've had now. But now Mitch McConnell wants to actually take that further and be able to do a simple vote majority, which is 51, to be able to do Supreme Court nominees.
So we have Harry Reid to thank for the first part of this, but this will really be Mitch McConnell pushing this over the top. So to actually get this rule change, what has to happen? Is it a simple majority to get that to happen as well?
Yeah, well, basically, kind of going back, Mitch McConnell had said, and it's actually, he is correct, there is no explicit rule like in the Constitution. It only explicitly says that there has to be supermajority or 3/5 of the Senate to approve treaties and things of that nature, but nothing as far as appointees. So technically, the Supreme Court justices haven't needed that majority. That's been sort of what the thinking body of the Senate, as we've talked about before. The House is more of the ruckus, kind of just simple majority. People can be a little bit more, I would say, party line, because They're usually in areas that are safe for their districts, whereas senators have always been a little bit more of the thinking body because they have to deal with the entire state that they're representing, so they can't be so ideological. So they've always been sort of the ones that are like, okay, let's take our time, let's think, let's have some bipartisanship, and that's always been sort of their way. So when you have 60 votes, you're a lot of times going to have to get people from the other party to be able to come along. And in this case, if you need 60 votes to be able to have a Supreme Court nominee passed, you're going to need a good 8 Democrats to help, push them over the finish line. But now we know that Democrats are so against Gorsuch, which rightfully so, because what had happened last year with Republicans is they decided not to even have an up or down vote on Merrick
Right,
Garland.
and this is less an issue about Gorsuch. Not that there aren't issues.
Yes, there's issues.
There are definitely
Right.
issues, but it's not specifically about
Right.
him. No matter who the nominee is, you feel like this is how
Yes,
they
this
would
has
proceed.
been stolen because a lot of Democrats feel that way, rightfully so, because last year McConnell with a fake rule about Joe Biden talking about, we don't do the Biden rule. That's not even true. That's never happened, and that never happened even though Biden said it back in 1987.
Well, explain what he said.
Well, he said back in 1987 he made a passing thing that we shouldn't, put Supreme Court nominees up for president in his last year in office.
Right.
Of course,
and
that never happened. Reagan ended up having his nominee appointed, which is Anthony Kennedy back then, who ended up, actually being the swing voter a lot of times now, hasn't been so conservative.
The Manchurian justice,
Yes.
as some people have said, yes.
So that was just something Biden said in passing that then Republicans have now taken as being like the Biden rule, and this is, Democrats have said this, and now they're trying to blame Democrats for the Harry Reid nuclear
Right.
option in 2013. But the thing is, they have taken it further. So they own this now. They took it further by not allowing to have an up or down vote on a good candidate last year, Merrick Garland, because it was Obama's last year. And McConnell did play a good political game. He was hoping that if Republicans won in 2016, then he'd be able to stretch this out and be able to get a conservative nominee. And I understand why they're doing this, because the court is tilted right now, and if you can't, or is even right now, and if you can get a conservative justice on the court, you have now shifted for the next generation. Because Gorsuch is only in his 50s, so he's young.
49, right?
We are just turning 50.
Right,
this
so
year.
he will probably be a justice, if he's
30
confirmed.
plus years,
I was going to say
theoretically.
45, but yes, just the way that it goes. So there's some interesting things there in what you said. One of which is, of course, Republicans live and breathe by everything that Joe Biden says. So it makes perfect sense that they're going to, hold that up as an example. And we talked about this on the show. I feel like if Scalia had passed away, say in the summer, I feel like there was something to be said about, what it's too close to the election. But it was in like February. Yeah. So I more than a year ago now. So I get both sides of that argument, but I do feel like...
I don't get the argument at all, because here's the thing. The president is in office until January 20th.
Sure.
The term ends. So even if something had happened, I could see if it was after the election.
Sure,
If it had
absolutely.
happened after November, okay, we get it. Now there's going to be a recess and a new president's coming in. But you can't do this months before when the current president is in office. That is what McConnell did was really, really wrong. And the fact is, if they do change this rule, they get the short-term win by getting their person on the Supreme Court, but they have now ruined this decorum in the Senate forever. Because now they have to know that the turnabout's going to be fair play. They are not going to be the majority party forever. And the next time that there is any type of chance that the Supreme Court justice is up and Democrats are in control, it's going to be a simple majority for them, and they're going to be completely locked out of any decision-making.
I understand everything you said except for the part that Republicans aren't going to be the majority forever. That's news to me.
I know,
Chelsea,
right? If they have their way and manipulating voting and everything
Chelsea,
else,
do you feel like this... Well, why don't you tell me how you feel about it, the whole situation, going back to a year ago? Do you feel like... I'm going to assume you're on the Democrat side on this?
Yeah, I am, because I really understand how important the Supreme Court is and how this one seat is. And yeah, they're just replacing somebody who was ultra conservative already. But that what happened last year, the obstructionism, refusing to even hold hearings or vote, is wrong. It violates the Constitution. The Constitution says the president nominates, Senate holds hearings.
Right, they advise and consent, and they did none of that last year.
And so it feels a little bit like, well, you were a brat first, so I'm going to be a brat now.
But
I'm
that
being
sounds,
a bigger brat
but
now.
that does sound, that sounds like Congress to me.
Yes, it
That
is.
sounds like Washington, D.C. I'm not saying that makes it okay, but it's just, it's what we've seen. It's like,
normally I
Harry
would
Reid,
be
you
like-
did this. Well, I'm going to take it another level further.
And normally I would be like, you have to do the right thing. You have to do the high ground thing. On this one, fuck the high ground, like filibuster all day.
I told you she was a bad girl.
And now they're trying to cut that. The Republicans actually want to cut the filibuster time from 30 hours to 8 hours because they feel like it's already been voted on. So they're trying to take even more power away from people doing that.
I think that's probably because we're losing a lot of the filibuster jobs to Mexico. You know, there are a lot of people coming in and filibustering on the Senate for a lot less than senators would. So they want to, you know, cut the workday down from 30 to 8 hours.
To 8. It makes it easier.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier.
But look, I didn't agree with it when Harry Reid did it in 2013. As a progressive, I did not agree with it because I knew it was opening that door.
Yeah.
And knowing that
at the time, plenty of people said
yes,
that.
and
but then
it was not good.
There were seats on the federal judiciary that were vacant and lots of things that needed to be.
Of course, and I get it, but I knew that him doing that was going to open the door. So when the tables turned and Republicans were controlled, they were going to take it further. So I didn't feel it was the right thing to do then.
I think maybe they should have back in 2013. I don't know. Is that an impeachable offense if the Senate Majority Leader doesn't like do the job and hold
It
hearings
should be.
and then just impeach him and get rid of him rather than change the rules? But nobody asked me.
Nobody asked you, but
for
see,
some
they
reason.
should have.
Yeah,
And
but it
at
should
what
be.
point can you be nominated for Supreme Court Justice, Chelsea? As a recovering lawyer, I think you would be an excellent choice.
Well, thank you. Clearly, that'll never happen.
Well, what if
Please.
Bernie's president? There's still time.
There's still time for you to be
2020, 2024,
I'm
2028.
wondering, would I go back to being a lawyer if I got to be a Supreme Court justice?
But you don't even have to be a lawyer to be Supreme
That's
Court
also
Justice,
true.
so it's
Well,
okay.
I
Because
mean,
there was talk that somebody floated the idea, hey, how about having Bill Clinton be a Supreme
Right,
Court
and then
justice?
they talked about Ted Cruz, and they talked about all these other people.
And they talked about Judge Judy. She would be great, by the way. So, obviously, progressive activists are celebrating the Democrats' plan to filibuster the Gorsuch vote, and for all the reasons you're saying. But let's talk about Gorsuch in general. What are the concerns? Like, just say that none of this had happened and it was just a standard confirmation. What do you, Scott First, feel that the concerns would be about his record?
Well, I feel that we also don't know much about his record besides him being an originalist with the Constitution, which I personally have issues with, which is like Scalia light.
We can't call it that because it's not. When you say corporations are people
Right.
and that's not originally in the
Exactly.
Constitution, you don't get to call yourself an
Yeah,
originalist.
I agree. It's like being able. It's sort of like picking and choosing in the Bible what you want to believe in and how you want to believe in it. But I don't like that kind of look at it because, of course, we've changed from when the Constitution. The framers of the Constitution would have expected at this point we would have revised. At this point, it was like every 12 years, 20 years, you revise the Constitution. And we still hold to this old truth of something from the 1700s.
We have 26 changes, two of which are negated by each other. So I guess we have 24 changes in 241 years.
Well, I mean, they're essentially saying that you could, in effect, rewrite the Constitution. Essentially, as you continue to grow and change, and you would rewrite it. It would
or
basically
we
be
just
redone.
became more literal. Like when they said like all men are created equal, we did all men,
Yeah.
even people of
Yes.
color.
Or
And then we're
including-
like, men is not quite what they meant. It's like mankind. So then we include
well,
women.
what they meant was white men.
but,
Right.
But,
Yeah.
But we're trying to broaden
And they
out.
definitely didn't mean women when they
Yes,
wrote it.
of course.
but now,
But
then-
now it
white
does mean that,
men.
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
And then now today, a federal court found that the Civil Rights Act covers
Yes,
LGBT,
which I was very happy about. That was
so
going to be my silver lining
it's meant to
later.
be a living, breathing
is.
document to grow with the times. There's no way that one document can be understood to be just letter of the exact law
that
at
works
that
today
moment.
that was written in the 1700s.
So
There's
you're
two
trying to
different-
say that in the 18th century, they didn't understand that I'm holding a device in my hand that has access to all of the
Careful,
knowledge
there's
of
a
human
message. They
history.
might
It's just
show.
letting
Yes.
people know that
Yes.
the Trump Report is on now. That's right. Thanks for watching, everyone. And we see some of you in the chat. We'll get to you in a moment. I feel like, obviously, the world is a lot different than then. The world 150 years ago was still so different that there should have been some changes. I guess there was
Well, 100 years ago, 50 years ago. I mean, you think about it.
There was a war between the states, something about that. I don't know much about it. I read comic books during history class, but I hear that some of the states
You're hearing from people.
I have heard people say. So yeah, I think that obviously that's what always worries me when people are strict constitutionalists
Yeah.
and they're like, well, what it says in there is good enough. And you referenced it's sort of like picking and choosing things from the Bible. Me personally, I like every other commandment. So I won't tell you which ones I don't
I was
like.
going to say, which ones are those?
Just keep your neighbor's ass away from me. In any case, cheap joke, I know, but it made me laugh. In the chat, Rance Jackson says, it's cool AfterBuzz is doing politics. Yes, it is. Thank you, Rance. Thanks for being there. But Shareable Texas says, so what's the alternative besides Gorsuch? Nothing. And that's obviously not the case. At some point, there will be hearings, whatever they have to do to make them happen. You would assume on Gorsuch. If not, and they submit someone else, well, won't the same thing just happen again? So
Right.
you might as well
Right, but that goes
vote
back
on
to
this guy.
Or
no. I don't know if we should, because I as a progressive I feel like they do need to stand up because it was wrong what they did, and they even said, oh, if Hillary Clinton had won, that they were going to stretch that out too, because there's also no rule there has to be.
Yeah, I can't
9
imagine.
justices.
I don't know for sure that. Yeah, that's true. I don't know for sure that Hillary would have been like, okay, well now we're gonna
Right.
hear Merrick Garland.
Yeah.
I have like 8 other justices who gave millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation that I'd like to have you consider, including Judge Judy. Go figure. But anyway, so. Yeah, what's the alternative? I guess, and I don't have an answer because I'm not smart enough.
If they, I mean, they never would. But saying we ripped off Merrick Garland hearings, hold hearings on him, vote yay or nay, but hold the hearings. Like just follow the law. Damn it!
Well,
Right?
to
Isn't
Scott's
that what they
point,
like about
there don't need to be 9. There can be more. So, well then,
could be
let's-
less.
But the
let's-
Constitution.
wait, but let's have confirmation here. Let's hear both of them, both of those guys. Let's talk about both of them. We'll weigh the options and we'll pick our favorite. It'll be like American Idol. Ryan Seacrest can be there. I love this idea.
Yes.
Let me know in the chat if you're watching on.
And the
YouTube
winner
right now.
is of the 9th Supreme Court Justice.
Ruben stuttered. How did that happen?
You do a vote tally.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, Trump would love that. Turn it into a reality show.
Oh,
I mean,
Trump
he
would, yeah. You get the idea that, some days Trump's just like, oh, this isn't over yet?
I
It's
know.
not
Oh,
4
that's
years.
how I
know
feel
that's
like.
how people feel, but there's times where you look at it and, man, he's really into it. And he's fun because he's making fun of reporters for an hour. And then there's other days where he's like, oh, I got to meet this guy. What's his name? And,
Then he has to go on vacation every weekend because it's so.
But he
exhausting.
didn't last weekend. Did you see that?
Yeah.
He didn't go to any Trump properties. He went to the Trump White House, which I don't think it has the logo on it yet, but
He's trying.
Good time.
No, exactly. It's still only 70-something days in. He's got time.
Right. So I feel pretty confident that we've discussed the nuclear option and what it would accomplish. What do you actually think will happen now if we were hedging bets? Do you? Because personally, I feel like if they have to go nuclear, they will.
they will.
And I feel like
No, they will.
At some point, Neil Gorsuch will be confirmed, and if he isn't, it'll just
But
be Trump's next guy, and it'll be a guy, by the way. Trump's
Yeah.
next guy will be
A white
confirmed.
guy.
Yeah.
No, I do. I
it's
think
still good for Democrats to do it.
No,
No, I agree.
Democrats
They
are taking
have
a stand
to.
that's very
They
important
have
for
to.
them, and I think that to complain about slowing down the process is sort of like complaining that there is a process. Yeah, I'm talking about Republicans complaining
Right.
that what are you doing,
when
Democrats?
When they say the Democrats are being obstructionists, I'm like, well,
I know.
they read it from your playbook.
Yeah, I was gonna say the height of hypocrisy, and I always love to troll Mitch McConnell on Twitter because it's ridiculous the things he says about Democrats when he himself had been doing
Obstructionist in
that
chief.
and had actually talked about being making Obama a one-term president and all these other things. So he has no room to talk. Yes, I do think they'll use the nuclear option if they need to because they want to get this over with. But they've now set a precedence for future. And it's sad because now it's just going to be completely politicized, and you can totally block out another party, regardless of it's Democrats in their place with Republicans. It's not the way that it was originally intended, and so it's going to be sad that they're going to do that, and they're going to go that route. And I have no doubt they will. They want to get it over with, and they want to complete the process they started from last year.
Well, let's move on to the other big story of this week. Former National Security Advisor Susan Rice, earlier today, today's being Tuesday, she flatly rejected allegations that the Obama White House inappropriately spied on and exposed President Trump or his transition team. The key word there? Inappropriately.
Yeah.
Because she's not saying, oh, no, we didn't look at Mike Flynn, Donald Trump, and Neil Gorsuch for some reason. So there's very partisan reaction to this. There's like the smoking gun that conservative commentators are talking about, and then there's the liberal and progressive reaction of, Okay, so what? What's next?
Well,
What
apparently somebody needed to be looking at Flynn because he's got something to say now.
Right.
See, that's the thing. If he hadn't done anything, there would be a case to be made. But
There
it's
would
like
be.
you were looking at him for a reason.
Yeah.
Chelsea, when you hear about this story and you hear about what Susan Rice says, do you feel like there was any wrongdoing on not just her part, but obviously the part of the Obama NSA?
Well, if we know that Russia was meddling, and they're looking to see how far does that go into the candidates, and clearly we know that it went into the Trump campaign because Flynn's. When you ask for immunity, I don't know who said this. I think his name is also Flynn. Is it the same guy?
Yeah, it was
It's the same guy. When you ask for immunity, it's because you've done something, and so if investigation led to them, it's probably rightfully so, and so it was appropriate.
Right.
Go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say, but she can't do this unilaterally. She needed to unmask people. She had to use the, she had to use the intelligence community there. So there had to have been a reason to be able to have gotten this information on these people. She couldn't just do it herself. So it's not really against anything it's not that she did any kind of wrongdoing is basically what I'm saying, because it was part of everyday unmasking communication between people that were being surveilled, and maybe she did it out of political curiosity, but it wasn't really anything over beyond her job duties.
And to say that that's the same thing
I
as
mean,
Obama wiretapped
right,
Trump
and there's
Tower
no
is not the
comparison.
same thing.
But the thing is, she can't do it unilaterally. She has to be able to have the intelligence community to be able to get that information. So it wasn't just happening. It wasn't her doing anything nefarious or bad.
No, I mean, the idea that she wanted to find out which Trump
Right.
campaign
Political
officials were
curiosity,
involved.
perhaps?
Political curiosity, but it's also like, well, who do we need to take a deeper look at? Look, it's completely logical.
Right.
I also think it's logical. I don't know that she should have to be subpoenaed, but Rand Paul said to that extent, Kentucky Senator, we're talking about two senators from Kentucky today. Let's find out what state we'll talk about next week. Maybe Missouri or Missouri. We'll find out. But Rand Paul said the facts will come out with Susan Rice, but I think she ought to be under subpoena. She needs to be asked, did you talk to the president about it? Did President Obama know about this? Which maybe he did, and it's also...
So what are you going to do? Impeach him now?
No problem
I know,
if he
but there-
did. Well, I don't
isn't.
know that it's an impeachable
There is
offense.
No, there's nothing about that. And that, again, the conservatives are trying to make it into a smoking gun. There's
Right.
nothing there
I'm-
to distract from the Russia stuff that...
Unlike Chelsea, I'm not a recovering lawyer, but I'm a recovering viewer of Law and Order, and I feel like
Basically the same thing.
It's kind of the same thing, but I just don't feel like there's that much here. And it's like she shouldn't need to be subpoenaed. She should be like, "Oh, you want to talk? Okay, yeah. I'll swear me in. I'll tell you all about it." President Obama is a little busy hanging out with Richard Branson.
They can have her testify on the same day that they have Sally Yates testify. How's that for a
Right, there we
compromise?
go.
Well, there you go. See, I don't know. So I understand that there are questions that they would like her to answer. I have no problem with that. But it also seems to me that she's not really being elusive about this. She hasn't asked for immunity.
Right. There's nothing there. She was doing part of her job and had to be able to get the permission to be able to unmask these people through the intelligence community. And yeah, maybe she was looking out of political curiosity, but there was really nothing deeper there at this point.
Well, what do our Trump supporters, I'm talking about you, Charles Storage Drive resident, I know you're in the chat, what do they think about this story? Because it does seem there's some outcry from conservative media and Republican elected officials that we need to know more. And look, I'm all in favor of asking questions that help you learn more, but the questions that needed to be asked were, so what is Mike Flynn's deal with Putin anyway? Or maybe all it was that he went to a Yakov Smirnoff concert. We don't know. It could be anything. But speaking of Russia, this was a story that Chelsea sent my way that I was kind of excited about. Donald Trump, President Trump, will be meeting with Congressman Dana Rohrabacher.
He did today.
He did today.
He did today.
Uh-huh.
When I read the article, I guess it hadn't happened yet. But tell me why this was, we'll admit it, it's kind of an entertaining article because...
Scott, how do you say his name?
it is Rohrabacher,
It
right?
is?
Yeah.
Okay. because I'm okay.
He tried to convince my boss to run for Dennis Miller, my old boss. We wanted him to run for office, and he was like, "What? No, I'm a comedian."
This guy, his nickname is like Mr. Putin's favorite congressman.
Yes,
exactly.
That's exactly what it was.
Yes.
And in an interview a couple of years ago said, "Oh my God, Putin's muscles are so unbelievable."
They talked about like arm wrestling him, and then it's like, and his muscles were amazing.
Like, whether or not his muscles are amazing, you never say that.
Right, obviously, this is Dana Rohrabacher's.
That's why no one ever says it about my muscles, because not to
no,
say
it
that.
wouldn't be polite. You know,
just wouldn't be.
when you leave, we talk about it.
I know.
But you know,
never.
that's why Stephen can't be on the show. He's intimidated by it.
But the reason that Trump wanted to speak to him was because he liked Rohrabacher's idea of some kind of like a visa tax
for the border wall,
right,
which is ridiculous. But
right,
okay,
right. I'm sure that's why he wanted to talk, and it had nothing to do with Russia. But yes, mysterious.
It is mysterious, but I, of course, just enjoyed the quote about Putin's muscles because, you know, it gives us an excuse to Google shirtless Putin on horseback holding a rifle, which I think if you just type in PUT, the autocomplete is Putin shirtless horseback rifle.
Right.
It all comes up there because if you
Wow.
want Putin, that's what you're going to get. Another story, Chelsea was just feverishly sending me stories today, but this was interesting. We don't talk a lot about the Koch brothers because the Koch brothers have not been as ecstatic about the Trump administration as some people might have expected. However, apparently some Koch brother operatives are filling top White House positions.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit more about that, Chelsea.
Even people like me who are generally like glued into what are the Koch brothers doing? Who are they supporting? Where are they putting their how much did they spend last election cycle? $750 million.
Yeah, almost
like
$1
where
billion.
is that money going? They were said to not be a fan of Trump, so they were instead helping, you know, congressional seats, but they really are sort of on the Trump train, and they have people that have worked for their various PACs or groups that, you know, sound really innocuous, like Americans for Prosperity, and different organizations like that infiltrate the White House. And we only know this now because people have had to reveal their ties to former employers on ethics forms. So it's not like these people sort of were very outrightly open about their backgrounds and who they worked for and their connection to the Koch brothers. It's only come out from real investigative journalism. So I guess we shouldn't be surprised. But if you thought that Trump wasn't owned, here's your lesson. You were wrong. He's very much owned, and this is Exhibit A.
Right, and it's apparently, well, let's just say it's Exhibit B because Exhibit A goes back to Putin shirtless horseback rifle.
Right, fair enough.
But allegedly, you know, we don't really know anything. By the way, Shareable Texas said something very funny. Putin equals protein plus gluten. That's how we get Putin. So thank you for sharing that, Shareable Texas. Who, if I remember correctly, Shareable Texas, not from Texas.
Yes,
he tries to throw us off. In any case...
So yeah, I really want to know, storage yard resident, where are you? And now if you know...
He's in the storage yard right now.
If the Koch brothers have really infiltrated the Trump team, is he still not owned?
It would be interesting to get his answer, but this is, of course, not the week that he's on with us. That was last week, and he did a great job. I think people enjoyed getting another perspective. Another story that I saw, which was in the Washington Times, and that referenced the fact that apparently illegal immigration is down 61% under President Trump. It's an interesting statement. It's an interesting report, and it mentions that it's down even before the border wall. My expectation would be that the border wall is not built. Wouldn't people be, you know, hurrying across while they still could? Is it possible, Scott Moore, that people just don't want to come here anymore because it seemed like fun under President Obama, and now they're like, wait, hold on, this is not going to be for us?
Well, I mean, the numbers were already going down when Obama was leaving office, and Obama, up to this point, was the deporter-in-chief, and it's too soon to really take anything from it. Also, the Washington Times is a conservative newspaper, so I feel that they're going to try to make this very optimistic, and Trump was talking about Kelly doing such a great job. It reminds me of the Michael Brown thing with President Bush.
Doing a heck of a job, Brownie.
That's why I feel like there's nothing that's really changed except perhaps they're now, sending ICE agents out everywhere to round up people. But that's not talking about people not crossing the border. The fact of the matter is this has been going down for years. We had the Central America refugee crisis a couple of years ago, and they have a lot of issues down there. But ever since then, Mexicans are not crossing the border anymore. It just hasn't happened. And you could say some of it is rhetoric. People are hearing this rhetoric. You've heard about people not wanting to travel here as foreign visitors to vacation here anymore because of Trump's rhetoric. So you could maybe put some of that in there, but you're not able to put all of that in. This has been a trend that's been going on for quite a long time, and it's only been 2 months that he's been in office. So, I wouldn't read too much into it right now as being him or any of his policies just yet, because that wasn't even putting in any of the ICE raids that are going on, which are a whole other separate discussion.
But President Trump says he's saving Americans' jobs. He's preventing them from having to compete with these unauthorized workers. So President Trump has taken a victory lap.
Of
on
course.
this.
I hope everybody's saving up for their groceries to be exponentially
That's what I was
going to
say. I'm looking forward to that day too. When
Has
people
anybody
are
tried to
gonna
buy
say-
avocados lately? They're actually a lot more expensive than they were a year ago at this time.
Storage Yard Resident has made an appearance.
Yes.
And what is that? Demonette? Every politician is owned except maybe Bernie. I can believe that.
By being a lifelong politician, he's probably owned in some way.
Owned by democracy.
Yes, that must be it. No, it's that really strict maple syrup lobby up there in Vermont, and
You don't mess with the maple syrup lobby.
Here's the thing about Bernie,
They're
though.
hardcore.
He's very pro gun rights, and do you think that that's because he feels like everybody should have a gun,
Well-
or is it because he wants to get reelected?
Well, you say he's very pro gun rights, yet
Sure.
he doesn't score well with the NRA
No,
at all.
no.
So I don't know if
But
it's
he's not
really fair
He
characterization.
doesn't. Well, it's because he's Bernie Sanders.
Well, I get. I mean, where he's from, he's also from a very liberal state, but it's a very rural state.
Yeah.
So there are people that like to go up there and hunt, even though I don't agree with that. But there are people that live in a rural environment there that are more, even if they're liberal, are more pro-gun in that sense. But most urban people know that guns are not used in the right manner. And that's why you get the urban-rural divide, because you get those people in the rural community that want to be able to have it for protection, but also for hunting and other things.
Right. It's just it's kind of an anachronism, because everything about Bernie on the national stage is that he's very progressive, and it's sort of like he's the progressive.
Yeah, but I think you can be progressive and be for common sense gun control and still be able to be open to people having that right to own guns if it's responsible and done correct, and you have background checks, and so you can definitely be that and still be a progressive. Those don't have to be separate things. It's just you have such an extreme of people with the NRA that want to be able to allow guns for every single thing, and are pro-gun. Everyone owns multiple guns, and everyone should be carrying guns everywhere so the good guys can take care of the bad guys. That kind of mentality doesn't work. So you can still be progressive and be for common sense gun control laws.
I like that, and I also like what's going on in the chat. Storage Yard Resident is saying that Border Patrol now gets to do their job, and that's why numbers are going down. Maybe, kind of, I don't know. But I do, shareable Texas,
no.
access to drinkable water is dwindling in Mexico and Central America. I would do whatever it takes to come over. Yeah, I mean, that is the thing. I think that every American that has such a strong opinion on this should go down to Mexico, Guatemala, take your pick, see what it's like, learn the history, learn the fact that they are in a dire situation in part because of the United States involvement in those countries, that we fucked them up.
We did.
And so don't say that that's their problem. You deal with it over there on your side of the frickin' wall. If you understand how their problems were created and how we had a role in it,
that. Mm-hmm.
and you want to take some responsibility and create some sort of effective border, but then also do something to help sort of compensate for what we did to them, fine. But if you don't have a history lesson about that area and you have zero compassion, I don't want to hear your opinion. Right. Shareable Texas, I agree with you. He understands.
What you're saying is that down there south of the border, there are some bueno hombres as well?
Muy bueno.
I did not realize
muy
that.
bueno.
I thought there were only bad
The
hombres.
reason why less people are coming is that the Mexican economy is doing better. I have seen that firsthand, that it is. I hope it continues to do better. I hear that Mexico was in talks with, who was it?
Argentina and,
Right.
and Brazil.
They're
and-
going to start getting produce from there
Yes,
instead of
the
us.
US.
And just watch. I'm telling you how much it's going to mess things up for us. People don't understand how cheap things are here for us.
Right.
They take it for granted, and they're about to find out that things have a price.
Right, and that's what I've always said, is that you can't have it both ways. You can't have cheap healthcare and then be able to have access to it for everyone. You can't have good paying jobs and then be able to have the cheap produce and the grocery store stuff, but also the cheap clothes that you get at Walmart and other stores. You can't have it both ways. You're going to have to pay somewhere. So either paying for better paying jobs, which means you're paying more for your jeans at Walmart, or, same thing with if you're not going to be able to have people come in and pick fruit for you, then you're going to have to go out and do it yourself.
Or pay a lot of money
Or pay
for
a lot
it,
of
yeah.
money for it, or you're going to have to pay a lot more for it in the grocery store. So you can't have it both ways. And that's going to be a hard lesson for people.
But I'm okay with that because all I do is eat kale all day, right? We've established that.
We have
Yes,
established
your
that.
kale smoothies.
But what if there becomes a kale tax? That
I will grow my own.
all right. We told you she's a bad girl. Mm-hmm. The bad
I would
girl's
go
club.
to-
What if it's
there's-
illegal? You'll grow it all in your yard.
We've got great community gardens in and around LA, and
Yeah.
so I might set up shop in a little community garden and grow stuff.
I'll
I
grow
think
my
it's
illegal
funny.
kale in my backyard.
Well,
That's what I'm going to do.
You're reading the comment from the Demon Knot reminded me that this would be a great time for some of our audience interaction with some comments from last week. The Demon Knot posted in response to a topic from last week's show. Please stop this Oprah take. We don't need billionaires who don't understand how the middle class is struggling every day. If Democrats want to win again, stop being sellouts to corporations and represent the people. Our pal, Storage Yard resident, who was a guest on the show, said Oprah is not going to win any election. She just does not have what's needed. Now, Chelsea, you were very excited about Oprah. What do you have to say to Demon Knot? That she is a billionaire who does not understand the middle class.
But I think that she must understand the middle class better than he, or maybe she thinks. I don't know. I can't. Is there a picture that?
I don't know that there's a picture
Okay.
of the Demon Knot. It looks like a man from here, but that's
Yeah.
probably being
And the reason I
genderist
say
on
that
my
is
part.
how can you command so many women's 3 o'clock hour for so long all over the country and not understand middle America? I
Well,
think
and also she
does.
came from a humble beginning, unlike Trump. She came from nothing and built herself. To me, they talk about Trump being the successful businessman. Well, he got millions of dollars and had a dad that started that. She started from nothing and made an empire. So if anything, she's got more of the talk than Trump does on
And
that.
a lot of if you've watched her show, a lot of the issues that she talks about are middle America issues. So she knows them. I guarantee it better than Trump did.
Of course she does, and she lived it. She knows what it was like.
So, and I don't believe that she's owned by corporations, although she does have a stake in which weight loss
Weight
system
Watchers.
is it? Yeah. Okay. So whatever.
And I hear she can still eat chips. That's my takeaway from that.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So she's definitely
She can bring Weight Watchers,
as far as
health.
I can see, not owned. Your reaction to something is making me
Well,
very curious.
there was a glitch with the video, but
Oh.
it's fine now. So I was
So
worried.
I disagree with both of those points. I feel she does understand middle America, and I feel she would not be corporate owned. But I do agree that being very wary of anybody who is corporate owned is something to pay attention to.
But I was also going to say, just think of where she came from. The humble beginnings, having to be a woman of color. She has so many other barriers she's had to come through than Donald Trump. I'm just saying, if you're comparing billionaire
And
versus
so,
billionaire.
if Storage Yard resident wants to make that claim, she would do. I would really like to understand the logic and reasoning behind that statement.
Well, Storage Yard resident was more of a Donahue guy. I think that's probably what it comes down to. And, I can't blame him. Personally, I would vote for Dick Cavett, but he's a little old now. Storage Yard resident, by the way, said, now we know that Chelsea grows her own, which I thought was very funny. So, see, he can have fun and we can laugh. I want to make sure that
I wish I
work.
could grow my own. I really can.
You grow your own kale, is what you're saying.
No, I do not currently.
You do not
I
currently.
do not. I want
I
to
currently
as well.
get it from where everyone else in the world is.
I wanted to work in a shameless plug that we ran out of time for last week because we always run out of time. I did some special episodes of my personal podcast, the Blackcast, which you can find at BLADTCAST.com. It was kind of commemorating a decade since the launch of the radio show that I used to work on, but it hasn't been on for 2 years. So it's like 8 out of 10 year anniversary of the Dennis Miller Show. But I had some great guests that people that watch this show might be interested in. I talked to Steve Hayes, who's the editor-in-chief of the Weekly Standard. I talked to former Michigan Congressman Thaddeus McCotter, Larry O'Connor, who used to work for Breitbart, stress the used to, and author Jerome Corsi, who now works for InfoWars, and he also wrote the book, Where's the Birth Certificate? And he wrote a follow-up book to that, Where's the Real Birth Certificate? So if you have any interest in hearing me do some long-form interviews with some of this, I also I had a fun chat with musician Peter Noon, who is from Herman's Hermits. So it wasn't all dry politics stuff. But if you have any interest in finding that...
Dry politics? Who said politics is dry?
Everyone. Blackcast.com.
I don't know if anymore.
CAST. I just, I didn't want to, cram my own plug. And besides, you guys can always get your plugs in, but we just have social media. Chelsea, here's sort of a plug, because you're not going to be with us next week, because where are you going tomorrow?
DC.
And what can you tell us about it? Nothing.
I don't know how much I can say on this end, but if we meet with all the people that we are set to meet with, it will be unfreaking believable. But I got to keep my fingers crossed, because, the whole nuclear shiznat that might go down Thursday may get in the way of
this would
some of these
actually be a
meetings.
problem for you if the filibuster happens.
I mean, can
so
they get it
do you
done?
feel like just a speedy confirmation for Gorsuch would be better for you personally?
Everybody wwill meeting with on Thursday, maybe we'll move it Friday and have Friday's people. I don't know. It is, it's will be very, very interesting if we get to
What
have
are the
these
odds
meetings.
that you get arrested again?
Hopefully none. This time I will be meeting.
You can't grow your own in the district, just so you know now off the top. Actually, you know what? You can, now that I think about it. I don't know, actually. You can possess it, but I don't think you can grow
That's
it.
not what I got arrested for.
I know that's
Don't
not.
tell people that. I mean, I guess I wouldn't mind being thought that that's what I got arrested for.
For growing her own kale. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's almost 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
So I think I will do a little celebration, but no, this time we're talking to people on the inside.
Nice.
On the inside.
That's what
That's
I'll
great.
say.
But you won't be with us next week. You'll be with us again.
The week after that, I will come
We have
hopefully
some
with
good
great
stories.
stories.
Oh, I hope.
Well, the week after that, so next week, our friend Brooks Elise will be sitting in again. It'll be great to chat with her. The week after that, we're going to get a return visit from our friends based in LA, the conservative commentators
boy.
who got a lot
boy.
a lot of page views and some eyes. And I remember the way you guys were heading into the conversation, and I know that's sort of a sexist term to say, you guys. I apologize, but the two of you.
Yes, I'm a lady, damn
But then
it.
after, yes, that's who I'm talking to. But after the fact, I think we all walked out of the studio and was like, that was actually a really good conversation, the kind that we don't get to have enough of.
I don't know. I was very angry, and I
No,
thought
you were
it was,
angry.
It was
But
not good.
It was. I don't know. I felt like it was good. It's good to be able to talk about these issues
Because
with people who don't
sometimes
agree with us.
people, they don't back up what they say with any
Right,
kind
that's
of
what
logic.
I felt like. It was like the Ann Coulter. It was like, I'm going to just say something for the attention.
Right.
I didn't feel there was any kind of meat
Well,
behind
as someone
it,
who does
so.
that themselves, I can certainly appreciate that, because I don't really know.
Kelsey Galicia,
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, yeah, Kelsey Galicia. I'm not sure if we're supposed to have a message at the bottom of our screen, Neil, because I see the yellow box, but I can't read it. So just in case you're
box
trying to
of
tell
doom.
us that, I know it's probably about time. It's probably about that time. So we'll have a busy couple of weeks here. One day, maybe our friend Drexel will join us again. You do his show, Political Culture, right before the show.
It's now our show.
Yeah, look
We've
at that.
taken the
Yeah.
leap. So
Yeah, it's official.
shameless plug. Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I still have never been on it. Everyone in the studio has been on that show
A couple
many
times. Just a few.
Yeah, but
not too many.
it's all right. One day, it's like Drexel has a party at his house. I don't get invited. He has a show. I don't get invited. It's all right. I get it.
How
Trump
many
versus
things
Hillary.
has Steven invited you to?
Right.
We hung out at the AfterBuzz Christmas party. He got me a free beer. We appreciated that. In
There
any
you go.
case,
Well, there you go.
thanks so much for everybody in the chat for joining us, and for everyone who's joining us after the fact. We appreciate that as well. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Trump Report ABTV. For Scott Moore at S-Man80, Chelsea Galicia at Chelsea Galicia, hopefully not arrested at this time next week.
No.
And Christian Bladt
not happening.
at Christian DMZ. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.